Now I appreciate not everyone's going to have these particular toadstools, mushrooms, whatever you want to call them, but I'm going to show you how it's done anyway, and what I used, and then you can see what you've got in your stash, and we can take it from there. The flower, I'm going to show you how to make the flower pot as well. Obviously, I'm just now looking for all the stuff I put in here that I'd already cut. Yeah, that's not happening, is it? I'm going to have to take all that out. Oh, that's a shame. Never mind, we'll find that in a minute. I don't need it at the second. So, to start with, when you're doing this, what you're going to need is you're going to need a 5x7 white card blank, like so. Alright, I think you can see that there. So 5x7 card blank. And then what I've done is I've got a... This is a Couture Creations embossing folder. My embossing folders have all been cut in half. I don't know if you've ever seen this before. When I have my embossing folders, I tend to cut them and put sellotape on either side. The reason I do this is because sometimes I want this in the middle and not all over. And there's different reasons for doing like a piece so it goes right up to the top so that it matches, so the bottom of the embossing folder might match the top of the embossing folder, and that's what I use it for. So, and also it means that you can put a longer strip of paper up through the gap and just keep pushing it through until it's all embossed. But that's a personal thing, that's what I do. So that's my embossing folder, and I put it through the embossing machine, and I've used this double-sided paper, so you can either use that side or you can use that side. It's up to you. Now on this one I just left it like that, but what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to get a little, if I can find a bit of sanding paper or a block. Here we go. So these are called sanding blocks. I don't know why I've got, you don't normally put elastic bands around them. So this, I think, is a core paper, which means it's got a white core, but we'll find out in a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over the top like that. So it means that my design stands out a little bit more than it did on this one. So this is the one where I haven't done anything at all, and this one here I've sanded it slightly so you can see through. This will only work if you have a white core paper, and you can tell. So if you've got like one colour on this side and you've got one colour on this side, if you look down the middle you'll see there's a white, it's got a white edge. All right, that means that the inside of this is white. And actually when you do the embossing, I'll do this, I'm not going to use this side, this is the deboss side, so the other side, so it actually shows up better on the deboss side, like so. So that's that, you can see that clearer there where the leaves are, but obviously you don't get the stalks because they're debossed. All right, but you can see it's got a white core, and I'm going to be using that side. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my piece of green to my 5x7 card blank. So this piece of paper measures 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. Okay, I think. Yes, it's slightly smaller than the 5x7. So take 1/4 of an inch off, and then I'm going to stick that. Make sure you get your leaves or whatever you're using up the right way. There you go. So that's stuck down like so. So you can already see the difference in that. Okay. Now, I'm going to make our flower pot. I'll put that under there for now. I'm going to make our flower pot. I've already got a template here. But what I do is I do two shapes. So I'm going to do a square and I do a rectangle. All right. Let me see. I've got a piece of scrap here. Ignore all the stamping, I was having to play. So you're going to need to cut a square and a rectangle. So cut your square, and my one on here is at this, say 3 inches. So a 3-inch square, I think. Let's see how tall it is first. Hang on. 1, 2. Yeah, a 3-inch square you want. So just cut yourself. Hold on. This is just scraps, so don't worry about it. You need to use perhaps white card or something like that. Yeah. 3-inch square. That'll do it. So you've got a 3-inch square, and then you need a rectangle. So the rectangle needs to be about, say, 3.5 inches. Right, 3.5 inches by whatever that is, double. 2 inches. 3.5 by 2. Okay, so that should give me my 2 shapes, like so. These are really easy to do if you want to make them. You might have a die. I mean, it's up to you, but I'm just showing you how you can make them. And then what you need to do is you're going to shape it. Now, you don't want it too angly. I mean, if you're really worried about it, you can, the bit you've taken off the other side, you can put on this side. Like so. And go them like that. So it gives you that sort of shape. So all I've done is I've taken 2 little bits off like that. All right, so it's not too much of a shape. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to round off the bottom corners like so. All right. And then I'm going to fold this in half, this rectangle, long ways. And that's what's going to go over the top, like so. So it needs a little bit of adjusting, but we'll do that. So I put my bit over the top like so, ignore the scribbles on it, and I'm just going to cut it so it's slightly bigger, and I mean slightly bigger than the pot. So let me just show you, can you see that? Look, just a little bit overhang there. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to round off these corners here, and that will go on there. And there's my flower pot. Okay, now if you want it to look a bit more angled, you can, and the way you do that is to reduce the size of the bottom of the pot, like so. You make your pot all sorts of shapes. You've seen all the different pots you can get. There's your pot. Okay, and that's just slightly smaller than that one, but it will do. It's lovely. That's fine. No problems at all. So I'll use this one just to show that I'm using the template I made. And now I've got my template, I'm going to get some craft card, which I've got in my bag. I seem to have an inordinate amount of stuff this time. So here's my piece of craft card. And I'm just going to I'm just going to draw around my shape. The reason I'm doing it and not doing it straight onto craft is because, you know, if you like it, you might want to make more. If you've got friends that like plants, this is always a good one. You can put flowers in it instead of toadstools like I'm doing. It's up to you. So there's my pot, and then I need this bit. So I'm just going to cut that out. Right, so that's that one. So I'm going to cut that out as well. There you go. And then you just fold it over. Doesn't matter if they're the same size, as long as the one that you're going to see is longer, if you like, or the same size as the one behind. And I'm going to just do that, and again I'm going to just round those bottom corners off. Right, so there's my flower pot. I know you probably can't see that, but you will notice there's no flickering today, and it's because I've put my mat back. It didn't like the white on the desk. I've tried everything. I'm thinking to myself, what am I doing wrong? And then I realised what it was. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put I've got a vintage photo distress ink, which I'm going to go down here. And then I'm going to do it where I think the top is going to go. And I'm going to do a little bit here as well, just slightly lighter. And then the same on the top. I'm leaving that little bit. So can you see there's like a light that goes down here? Let's make it a little bit less obvious, like so. I'm just going to check well, that line needs to come quite a bit further down. That's better, like so. Right, so you see where we've left this bit here, we're going to do the same here. So you're going to use your ink or whatever you've got. Ordinary ink will do, chalk ink, anything, it doesn't really matter. And then just like so. So you've got this sort of white bit going down here. It does make a difference, believe me, honestly. Okay, so I've done that. So I'm going to stick this down now. Because I'm sticking it onto a distress ink, I'm going to be using a glue. Okay, so I'm going to put my glue inside on both of these, like so. I'm going to pop it over the edge, so it's just overhanging on both sides, and stick it down. Now once you've got it stuck, you need to get your brown and really make the top bit quite dark. In fact, I think what I'll do, if I've got one here, and I'm sure I must have, what's that? You can never find what you're looking for, can you? I am awful with this. I've got a brown pen. This is a brown pen. I might just make that really deep under there and really deep along there. Then come in with a... Can you see how much difference that makes, just making that dark? Yep. There we go. So that's my thing. And you can just manipulate the pot a little bit so that it does that. All right. Now you don't need to worry about it too much. We're not going to make it too deep. If you want it flat, you can have it flat. It's not an issue. So all I'm going to do is I've got a piece of tape and I'm just going to put it down the middle like that. I haven't got it anywhere else, just down the middle. I'm going to take that off. And then you want glue down either side. So I'm going to put glue on here and glue on here. Don't put it all over. You just want it on those bits, all right? Then get your card. Work out where your pot's going to go, making sure obviously that your pot is touching the bottom. Press your bit of tape down first because it just gives you a bit of a lift so it's not completely flat. And stick down your pot like that. So you've still got a hole in the top. All right, and then can you see how that makes that look rounded because you've put this here? Yeah? Good. So that's your first bit. So you can put that to one side to dry. Now, I've just got to look through my stuff because I know I've already stamped these. It's just a case of finding them. So, bear with me. Because as I do things, I put them in this bag. Oh. So just to show you as well, there's lots of different Toadstools you can get. This is an old one. This one is Dolly Dimples. All right, I think there's some also on the what are they called? Aha, found it. On the craft stamping a little while ago, they did gnomes. Do you remember the gnomes? I haven't actually got that one, but they did gnomes, and I think you'll find there's Toadstools on that one if you're looking for Toadstools. So let me just show you how I do this. So what I've done is I've stamped some white Toadstools. So I'm going to need 2 of those. Doesn't matter about the tops. And I'm going to need 2 big ones like so. All right. And I'm going to need 2 red tops, big ones, and 2 little ones. Now, if you don't want to cut things out twice, that's entirely up to you. But I always find that regardless of what ink I use, and it really doesn't matter, I've tried the most expensive inks, the cheapest inks, all sorts. Some of them do smudge, and it's really annoying. So I've stamped onto red paper. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut, I'll just show you how I do this. I'm going to cut up the stem because we want the stem. Not to worry about that. And I'm going to cut all of this off. So I'm going to, oh, look at that. That must have already been cut like that. Let's find another one. That a little one. Let's throw that one away. That one. Okay, so try again. Cut the bottom off. And cut down the sides like so. Right, so I've cut that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut off all the bits. I don't want to cut around all the bits. I just want something to stick the mushroom head to. So I'm just cutting inside the design. So I'm ending up with that. Okay, I'm going to do that to all of them. They say that cutting out is therapeutic, but it's not therapeutic when you're on a live. Because you know that people are watching you. Well, I haven't made any bad, I haven't cut anything off. That's always a good sign. Okay, so that's the last one. So a bit of glue on there as well. And then stick this one down on here. It's like that. Right, so there's my 4 Toadstools. Now, they don't look a lot, do they, really? I mean, they're okay, but they look a bit sort of bland. I'm just trying to find my, that's the green. Just trying to find the brown. Must be that one. Okay, so what I did first of all was I did all the stalks. And I've chosen brown because you're not really going to see them. And I haven't filled in anything I've missed. So if you leave little bits like gaps and things like that, don't worry about it, just leave it, because these ones in particular have got a design on the stem. All right, so that you really want that to show if you can. Okay, let me get me a cup of tea. And a milk bottle, obviously. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to decorate them. And I'm just using a white pen, and that's all I'm doing. So you can see how plain they are. So all I'm going to do is with my white pen, and all I'm doing is picking out the dots that have been put there on the stamp. Now obviously if you haven't got this stamp, which a lot of you probably haven't, a lot of you might have, I suggest that you use dots instead of using a white pen. And we can use a white pen to do dots, but you can also use like punched out dots to add to your mushroom if you've got mushroom or toadstool. And then once you've done that, just add some little dots in between the big dots if you haven't already got them drawn onto your stamp. I'm not going to do them all, I'm just going to do one, and I'll do the rest before I do the pictures. But you get the idea. So you just go in and right, so you get the idea. Okay, now look at the difference between those two and how different they look. Makes a huge difference, doesn't it? Well, I'm not going to do the others, but I will do them. But I want to show you how to put the card together, obviously. So we'll start off with this one. So what I'm going to do is, because I've only got that bit in the middle, you should be able to poke your toadstools down here, like this. Okay, as I say, I will do these again later before I post. Right, so that's how they are, like that. And what I've done is these two here are stuck down flat, and these two here have got sticky foam underneath them. All right, but I'm not obviously going to do that because I'm going to go back and do the dots when we finished, but there you go. And as for the little flowers at the bottom, I've got what's called a scribble stamp. Have I got it here? Yeah, it's this one. This is a really old one. I put this up in the D-stash a little while ago. No one had it, so I had it back. And I have used it. These are called scribble stamps, and they're petals from scratch, they're called. And I've used these two like scribble flowers to make my little flowers like so. So all I did was I've cut them out like so. Let's just cut these little ones out, and I used two of these ones and one of the other one just to make them different, like so. But I'll show you what I've done to them, because you don't want to see me cutting out. We've got two more cards to do as well. So let's just get this one cut out and then I'll show you how I do it. So now I've used blue paper. Now what happened was I did the blue paper, and when I looked at them afterwards I thought the blue's not blue enough. It's too wishy-washy and it's going to look wishy-washy, and I don't want that. I want it to be bright. So what I did was I got my little flower like so. Put these away. Put those over there for now. Right, so I got this one. I thought it's not bright enough, so I just got a pro marker, which is this blue, and I literally went over it in a darker blue just to make it darker. And you don't need anything special for this, because it's just going to make a couple of stems. It's just a little flower that sticks out. It's not really the focal point. It's just, you know, something that just breaks up the toadstools. So what I did was I cut a little bit of white paper. You can cut green if you've got green, and I just coloured it in. I put a little bit of glue on the end, like so, and I stuck my flower to it like that. I got a little sort of scribble flower, if you like. And then just to finish that off, I got a little bit of yellow and cut myself a middle. That's not very round, is it? Let's try that again. That'll do. It's a scribble stamp, you don't need to worry about it. Just put some in there, stick your piece of middle down like so, and you've got your little flowers. And then you just need 3, so you have 1 there, and then the other 2 that you need to do the pot. Now I'm going to stamp my greeting on as is. Okay, so while it's sitting there, this is that set I got from Hobby Art again, so I like it because you can go do Happy Easter again. So I'm going to get my stamps. Now I cut mine in half. I've said this to you before, you don't have to obviously, but I do cut mine in half because I like to stamp them individually so I can put them where I want them to be. So I'm using a StazOn black ink, and because I've only used a small amount of the tape, and this isn't a mistake, this is exactly what I did last time, so I can get it where I want it. I'll just put happy there, and because you're at an angle, you just roll your block slightly. Oh dear, that didn't come out. I should have done a test one first. Never mind. And then Easter. It's good actually because I can show you what to do. Easter here. There you go. Right, so when you've got something like that and you have stamped it, if you're using a stamping platform, you can just go back and re-stamp it. I know that. But if you're in a situation like this where you haven't used a stamping platform, then you can go back and finish off what you can see. So I'm just going to go back and fill out, just following where the stamp is. Like so. Take your time, don't rush it, doesn't have to be rushed. There, that'll do. So it's easily repaired. So you can see, you know I haven't done all the colouring in, but you can see how that card was made. I will finish that off obviously and photograph it again. The difference in the two very obviously is the background, so you either like it or you don't. So you make the decision whether you want to sand your embossed paper or whether you want to just leave it as it is. But it certainly looks nice with something in the background. You'll get away, if you haven't got an embossing folder, you could get away with like a lighter coloured designed background if you wanted to. But the choice is yours. But the idea is simple. I've made the pot smaller on this one, bigger on this one. Again, depends what you like, and you can put anything in it, so it doesn't really matter. You can put if you've got die cut flowers, you can put those inside, as long as you remember that the only way this pot is stuck is by that piece of foam tape just down the middle, and it doesn't even have to be thick. You could just cut a thin piece. Okay, in fact, if you look at this, you see this bit, that is the bit left after I cut off to put down in this one. You just want the room to be able to poke the flowers down. Okay,